hope you enjoy Pasteis to Nata, because in this episode of Wander Every Day, I'm joined by my friend Emily to chat all about her family trip to Lisbon. We dive into the highs, the logistics, everything you need to know about the food, and the magic of traveling to Portugal with a multi-generational crew. Let's wander. Hi friends, I'm Day, your host, travel lover, deal finder, and storyteller. And this is Wander Every Day, the podcast where real talk meets real trips. Each week, I sit down with some of my favorite well-traveled friends to swap stories. We're diving in on where to stay, what to eat, how to spend your time and money, and how to enjoy exploring the world. Now, let's wander. Hi friends! Welcome back to Wander Every Day. We're headed to one of Europe's most sun-soaked and soulful capital cities, Lisbon, Portugal. Built on 7 hills and layered with hundreds of years of history, Lisbon is where old world charm meets laid-back coastal living. With its pastel-colored buildings, iconic yellow trams, beautiful tiled facades, and sweeping views of the Tagus River, Lisbon is a city that feels both timeless and effortlessly cool. It's a place where in the mornings you can sip espresso in leafy plazas, enjoy exploring historic neighborhoods in areas like Belem and Alfama, and your evenings on a beautiful patio sipping vino verde as you watch the sunset. Whether you're into culture, definitely if you're into cuisine, Lisbon is the perfect destination, even with kids in tow. In today's episode, I'm joined by my friend Emily, who recently visited Lisbon this past February with her husband Kyle, her 2 daughters Spencer and McKenna, her mom, and her sister. She shares what it's like to explore Portugal with 3 generations, their favorite family-friendly finds, and how they created a relaxed, meaningful trip in one of Europe's most scenic cities. Now, let's jump in. This week on Wander Every Day, I'm joined by my friend Emily, a true creative spirit known for turning simple, everyday moments into something special. Whether she's renovating her beautiful century home, tending to her backyard chicken coop, or crafting up something Pinterest-worthy, Emily brings intention and resourcefulness to everything she does, including travel. We dive into what it's really like exploring Europe with 2 young kids, the joys and adjustments of multi-generational travel, and how they made the most of a winter getaway to one of Europe's sunniest capital cities. Emily, welcome to the pod.
Hi, Daytona. Thanks for having me here.
I'm sure few listeners maybe know this, but you and I speak daily in our little group chat. You've actually become one of my
Yes.
closest friends, I'd say, in the last few years, which I'm so grateful for. But something I've definitely learned in our daily chats is that you and I have something very similar, and that is our need for a deal. And I think something for anyone listening is that if anything, Emily is going to bring how to travel on a budget or how to be a mindful budget traveler to this specific podcast episode. We are going to jump into your specific Portugal trip in a second. But before we do, I do want to circle back to a trip you and Kyle did for your honeymoon, because first of all, it sounded epic. And second of all, I've had a serious question to ask you for a long time. So for your honeymoon, you went to Australia, New Zealand, and Thailand. And a few months ago, you told me that you decided to bring a tent with you so that you could camp. Please explain to the listeners how you traveled for weeks on end with a tent on tow.
Okay, so we actually brought 2 tents. They were individual, like single-person tents that could also be hammocks. So our plan was we were backpacking for 7 weeks. And so we each had one big backpack, and that had our tent in this tiny little capsule shoved on the bottom as well. And we were hoping that when we were in New Zealand, we would just tent everywhere. Turned out it was the rainiest season on record, and we only slept in our tents maybe twice because we were literally going to wash away. So we slept in our like tiny car. We didn't do it the normal backpacking way. We were like van trip way. We rented like the smallest, cheapest car. It was like $200 for 3 weeks. So, yeah, we definitely should have got a bigger car considering the weather, but hindsight's 2020.
Is that something people should know about New Zealand? Is there a specific time of year that you should or shouldn't travel there because of the rain?
No, actually, we were there in like a really good, it was like spring. So it was going to be like a little bit rainy, which is okay, but they had like a record rainfall. So that was the reason the tents didn't work out for us. It wasn't like the norm.
Did you tent camp as well in Australia or Thailand?
In Australia. My sister lived there at the time, so we stayed with her. And then one of my friends lived there as well, Erica. So we stayed with her for a couple nights. And then the one night we went to the Grampians. We planned to tent camp, but again, it was pouring rain and we slept in our car.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't sleep in a tent if I was traveling. I would just be too, I don't know. In Canada, it's one thing. I'm aware of my surroundings. I know like the local animals, but I feel like if I was in New Zealand, like aren't there like crazy animals in New Zealand or is that just Australia? Like lizards
Um,
and scorpions and stuff?
that's mostly Australia, and that's mostly like the outback, which we were in Melbourne, Australia, which is a city. And then the Grampians are like a mountainous area. It's not like the desert or anything. So I don't think there's any scorpions. We saw some kangaroos and we saw an echidna, but they don't really want to come near you. It's kind of like deer and bunny, where they're just as afraid of you as you are of them. So it felt pretty safe. And in New Zealand, we saw some kiwi birds when we were camping, really cute. And we saw a couple other birds, but they don't have the crazy spiders like they do in Australia. So we were not concerned.
So we talked a little bit about how you traveled to New Zealand, Australia, and Thailand. I know originally when we were talking about how you were going to go on this trip with your family, you actually were talking about going to Belize, if you remember. So how did you guys go from maybe going to Belize to ending up going to Portugal?
So when we first talked about this trip, my parents just wanted to take us on a nice vacation. My sister lives in England, so it's kind of easier for us to meet up part way with her rather than her always flying home to us. So it was like for our family vacation, we'll meet somewhere instead of just coming here to Niagara Falls. We wanted to go somewhere warm because it was winter here, and in England it was raining. My sister loves Europe. She's a big traveler as well. And I've been to Portugal before. So we kind of, my mom was thinking like an all-inclusive beach vacation. And we were like, might not be a beach vacation type of vibe with two young kids. Like they're not going to want to relax on the beach for 10 days. So kind of an in-between was Portugal because they've got beaches. We could do a couple beach days, but they also have stuff we can do to entertain everyone.
How did you guys decide to stay in Lisbon specifically? Because there's different places in Portugal, like especially the Algarve if you're looking for the more beachy vibes, but you landed on Lisbon, I guess.
hmm So you're definitely looking for like transportation and walkability. We knew that with two kids, we did not want to bring car seats that we had to put in and out of taxis every time we went somewhere. So we were thinking like we need subways, we need buses, or we need to be able to walk. So a main city was definitely a priority for us. Lisbon has lots to do, rain or shine, and we were going kind of in the off season, so we knew there was a chance it was going to be rainy or a little bit cold, that we wouldn't necessarily want to be in the ocean swimming, which is cold all year round, if you ask me. So that was kind of where we landed on Lisbon as like a beach town. It wasn't really the right time of year. And the walkability was just like unbeatable.
On the day budget travel scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is absolute cheapest accommodations, street food, minimal to no paid activities, and 10 is absolute luxury, no budget, four seasons travel, where would you rate yourself as a traveler?
Hmm, that is tough. I would say me, myself, I would probably fall in like a two because honestly, like give me a deal. I feel like I've won the lottery when I get a good deal. So, for this Portugal trip, though, I will say it's a caveat that my mom sponsored this trip.
Mhm.
So, we lived a little more to her lifestyle, which she's probably like a six. Nothing crazy, crazy, but also
Mhm.
you know, she's retired, a little more flowing than I am.
So you got a taste of the high life on this trip.
Yes, I would absolutely never get an alcoholic beverage at lunch if I was the one paying. But we spent lots of our time drinking wine and cocktails. So
When I just said absolute luxury, no budget, like for me, I cringe when I have the thought of like just spending frivolously like that.
yeah, it
So,
actually stresses me out.
well, I'm excited to hear about kind of the differences maybe between what you would have done if you weren't with your family versus the experience you guys got to do because you maybe had some of those experiences paid for. Tell us about your general trip itinerary.
For the most part, my goal was to try all of the pastel de natas that I could, which is a Portuguese custard tart. And I think I tried about 30 in 10 days. So
Oh my
yeah, I
gosh.
succeeded in that goal.
Oh my
I
gosh.
forget the question.
The question was, tell us about your general trip itinerary, which had nothing to do with the itinerary, but that's fine. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and it's going to be in the podcast. So, to go back to something we've talked about many times, I seem to think you're not actually like a trained pastry chef. Like you went to culinary school, but like, are you technically a pastry chef?
I don't technically
You're not.
have my red seal, no, but I went
Okay.
to culinary school and then I was the head chef or head pastry chef at a winery. And then I was the head baker at a donut shop as well. And I've done my fair share of cakes and everything. So I feel like it's
Oh,
just
I
easier
know.
than saying I'm a baker because it's, people just have this like, oh, you make Betty Crocker cake mixes at home when you say I'm a baker. So
What's your Instagram at mbakes?
at M's Treats.
At M Streets on Instagram, if anyone wants to see how incredible of a baker Emily is, she is much more than a baker. When she's going around town looking for pastiche de nata, it's because she knows how to probably make them properly, or at least she knows how they should
Mhm.
taste.
I definitely know how to eat them.
Tell us about your general trip itinerary.
Okay, so we were hoping to do a couple beach days, but we knew it would be a little bit cooler. I think the average temperature was like 15 to 20, but sunny most of the time. So we wanted a couple beach days, a couple like sightseeing things, lots of bakeries. That was on the itinerary for sure. And just like spending some quality time together. So we were happy to not have like strict must get here, must get there timelines. Just kind of go with the flow.
What were the actual dates of your trip generally?
I think it was January 29th to February 11th or something. So the 29th, though, we left at like 6 p.m. So we didn't really count that in our travel days. And
Mhm.
and then yeah, we left I don't know, noon on the 11th or something. So we had like 10 days there.
In a previous podcast, I spoke with Gates and Laura, who had two young boys who they took to Spain. I know Spencer, and Spencer's not a low energy kid. Great kid, not low energy. McKenna at the time, I was thinking in my head, because she was born in May, was only like 7 or 8 months old. So, what was it like flying overnight to Portugal with a higher energy 3 year old and a infant?
Well, we bought flight seats for both of them. That is one thing that I won't skimp out on. It's the safest. And honestly, I couldn't imagine having a kid sit on my lap for 8 hours overnight. Like that would just be very miserable for me. So with that said, they had their own seats and they had their car seats to sit in because McKenna obviously can't sit in an 8-month-old can't sit in a seat on her own. So they were in their car seats. Spencer watched movies until she fell asleep, which is not our norm, but you do what you gotta do. And McKenna actually was pretty good. I would nurse her and then lay with her like little piggy toes and then put her to bed in her car seat, basically. So wasn't too bad.
Who was easier to travel with in general, Spencer or McKenna?
Honestly, Spencer, my 4-year-old,
Mm.
she can tell you what she wants, right? So yeah. And she doesn't nap anymore. So we didn't have to work around any time schedules at all. And we didn't really with McKenna either, but sometimes she'd be very cranky if she didn't fall asleep in the stroller like we thought she would or something like that. So
I've literally never seen McKenna cranky ever. That child is constantly smiling.
yeah, I
Super.
know. I'm not complaining. She's really not a cranky baby, but just there was a couple days where like she didn't nap all day, and an 8-month-old definitely should have a couple naps. So she was a bit cranky by the end of the day.
How do you research or plan for your trips? Do you have any like go-to websites, apps, or travel hacks, tips?
I typically like to post a story on Instagram and say like if anyone's been to Lisbon, like what were your favorite things? And a lot of people I know travel, so I got some recommendations that way. I also was chatting up the lady sitting next to me on the flight from Toronto to Lisbon. She turns out she was Portuguese. And so I was asking what the best, like, authentic foods were, if there was any, like, must-dos in Lisbon. And so I was writing them in my phone as she was telling me them. And we actually did do a couple of them. So, yeah, mostly asking people we know, word of mouth, and on Instagram, looking at the map and looking at the tags for the locations to see, like, kind of where everyone is. Those are places I want to avoid typically.
Something I really enjoyed that you provided me is the Google Map locations of everywhere you went.
Yes.
Is that something you do typically when you travel? Is you curate these like Google? I don't even know
Oh,
how you do that.
it's a Google Maps saved list or folder. So I actually do it for everything. Like I have one for Niagara where we live. I have one just like all of southwestern Ontario. Like if anything comes up and I'm like, oh, that looks cool, I know that I will forget about it because I have no brain. So yeah,
Okay, well, it's like super handy. And when you sent it to me, I was like, this is incredible that she decided to save all this information. So handy for me. It's handy
yeah.
for
So
you.
started making that before we went, and you can share it and have like more collaborators. So I added my sister and my husband Kyle. And so they were able to add to them of like places they were interested in going. And then when we were there, if we found something that we really loved, just like on a whim, they were like, oh, we should tell, anyone that wants to visit that this thing was really great. We'll save it on there too. So that's how I have that kind of master list, which maybe you could put like a link to it or something.
I will. It's
But yeah, so
fantastic.
I mean, it doesn't include literally every little thing we do, but most of the restaurants, most of the tourist sites, some of the little like hole in the wall places that I was like, how do you tell someone about a place that you don't remember the name? Like I would just pin it. So yeah,
Okay. So we're going to get into a little bit more of the details about where you actually stayed in Lisbon. So what kind of accommodation did you stay in and where exactly was it?
we stayed in an Airbnb and it was like the first level in like a condo building kind of. And it was like very central Lisbon. I would have to give you like what stop on the subway or something. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Did you like the accommodation you stayed in?
I did. I would give it like a 4.5 out of 5. And the only reason it didn't get a full 5 was I think the patio needed a power wash, which again, we were in the off season. So I don't know if it had just been like pretty rainy and stuff, but it was a little bit like mossy, which I didn't love. Um, And the other thing is they're very skimpy on toilet paper, which is so random. And like toilet paper is not expensive, but it just irked me a little bit that I needed to bring my own toilet paper. So
Mm-hmm,
I don't
mm-hmm,
know. Maybe that's a European thing. I haven't stayed in an Airbnb in Europe in like a long time. So
mm-hmm. I'm assuming that if you were there with like your mom, your sister, and then you had the kids there, it was like at least three bedroom, like a three-bedroom Airbnb.
yeah, 3 bedrooms. And then they also had a pull-out couch in the living room. So technically we didn't even use the pull-out couch, but we could have had another person or another two people even stay with us.
Did McKenna sleep in like a pack and play, or what did she sleep in?
Yeah,
Was that allowed? I don't know.
yeah, actually, that is exactly what they sleep in. And the Airbnb was great, and they provided the pack and play and the sheets for it and stuff, so we didn't have to bring it on the plane or anything. Maybe this is common throughout all of Europe, but if they say ground floor, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's no stairs to get in. So we were on the
Mm.
first floor, but there was still like 6 stairs to get up and no elevator. So we booked a ground floor thinking that the stroller we could just roll in and park in the backyard or whatever on the we knew there was a patio. And then like easily roll it out. But we actually had to carry it up 6 stairs every time we came and went, which compared to everywhere else in Portugal, 6 stairs was nothing. We ended up being like stair masters with carrying the stroller. But yeah, if you had like a wheelchair or something, that sometimes you would have to double check that if ground floor means on the ground or if there's still stairs.
As we're about to get into, some people have mobility issues or need a more accessible space. Now, it sounds like Lisbon isn't the most accessible town. However, it's still important to know if that's what people are expecting and then they find stairs. That's probably not preferred. I'm assuming your Airbnb had like a kitchen. Did you guys cook a lot in your Airbnb?
Not a lot. We did some of our breakfast. One person would go to the bakery, grab a loaf of bread, and we went to the grocery store a few times to have some fresh fruit and yogurt and stuff like that on hand. And then we'd usually go to a cafe for like brunch later on. But for that first morning nibble, we did that at home, and then we cooked there. I think the last 2 nights we did like we went to like a little market thing and got some sausages and stuff like that and like actually cooked there.
I will link the Airbnb in the show notes if anyone is interested in staying there. I guess sounds like 3 bedroom, kitchen, central location. Was it decently priced?
Yeah, I actually think it was like really well priced. That was part of the reason that we ended up going with Lisbon, is we looked at a few different Airbnbs at the right time, and between the flights and the Airbnb price, this was like an unbeatable trip.
Well, let's break down day by day what you did on your trip. Tell me about what you did with the family on the first day.
Well, the first day I was violently ill. I think I ate a bad sandwich on the airplane. So,
Oh no.
yeah, we arrived at 6 a.m. and then there was a big mix up with our air transport that we booked actually through the airline. So very annoyed with how that went.
What airline was
Um,
it?
it's called TAP Air Portugal.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so we had a big mix up. So we were at the airport until like noon and we arrived at 6 a.m. And yeah, I was just sleeping on a cafe table in the airport, basically puked in my coffee cup. It was not a good time.
Oh my gosh.
So we
Did
didn't do anything the first day.
did you have access to your Airbnb right away? Like were you at least able to go there to have some reprieve from this new town?
We got access at noon, but we there was like some miscommunication between us and the Airbnb, which like in hindsight was likely my fault. But they thought we were just gonna drop our bags off and then go do something. And that was the plan. But actually, because I was violently ill, I didn't want to go do anything. I wanted to take a nap. But so they let us have like early access, um, but just to drop off our bags. So the cleaners were still going to clean up from the last people. So they didn't want us to stay there. But I convinced the cleaners to let me like sleep on the patio while they cleaned the place anyways. So
Oh my gosh. How long did it take you to feel better after feeling sick?
luckily I felt fine the next day, but yeah, was sick that whole day. And when we got to the Airbnb at like noon, I slept until the next morning. So
Oh,
yeah,
all right. So day one down. Day one was downtown.
the
Okay.
downtown can only get better
Um,
from here.
so hopefully you like caught up on your jet lag and got to sleep a bit so you could enjoy day two. So what did you do
Yeah,
day two?
day two, we checked out a vegan cafe. My sister's vegan, so there's a few good spots we can link here. This ended up being our favorite cafe. We went to it probably 4 times in the 10 days that we were there. And it was amazing. The people were so lovely. It was like cute and cozy. It was walking distance away from our Airbnb and it was decently priced. They had interesting stuff. They had like a vegan smoked salmon bagel. So it was, I think, tofu or seitan, but they made it taste like salmon. It was so believable. We all loved it. Like even my meat-loving husband loved the stuff we had at the vegan place. So it was very good.
What was the vegan cafe called?
Okay, it was called Gal Cafe.
Okay. We will link the Instagram below because I'm sure people who are vegan would really appreciate a great place that they can depend on nice baked goods. And especially coming from you, a highly esteemed baker yourself. So you went to this cafe. What did you guys do in
Yep.
the afternoon?
We wandered around the Lisbon Botanical Gardens.
What are the botanical gardens like there in February?
Everything was like green, and the only thing, some things weren't blooming, but there was lots to look at, lots of
Hmm.
trees, lots of they had like ponds that had ducks and everything in it. They had huge monsteras, the biggest I'd ever seen, like probably 3 feet across for one leaf.
Oh
Like
my
absolutely
gosh.
monstrous. Yeah, they were really cool. And I saw some in bloom, which I'd never seen.
Like they have flowers?
Yeah, I didn't even know monsteras had flowers. They
What do
kind
their
of look
flowers look
like
like?
the monstera flowers looked like small cobs of corn with like a calla lily petal kind of wrapped around it.
What?
Yeah,
Okay, this is
weird.
crazy. I've only ever seen the greens of a monstera. What kind of conditions would it have to grow into flower? What?
Apparently, like optimal conditions is like pretty damp
Oh
and
God.
understory. I think people give them a lot more sun than they actually need.
And
Because
obviously, I'm not giving
there's,
mine enough water.
yeah,
My
well, it's like the
gosh.
humidity, right? Not actual watering water. So,
Mm.
yeah,
What was the weather like in Lisbon at that time of year?
it was like 15 to 20 degrees, pretty sunny. It was honestly perfect. We did so much walking, and there's so many steep hills and cobblestone that like we were sweating. So I can't imagine doing it when it's like 35 degrees. It'd be miserable.
What kind of food do they have in Portugal? Like chicken?
There's a lot of chicken. There's a lot of like grilled fish where you get the whole fish on a platter, like the head and all. So that was a bit strange for the kids, but we didn't mind. You obviously just don't eat what you don't want to eat.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot of like potatoes in all forms, which is delicious.
Hmm.
And there was quite a few like egg and potato casseroles, lots of seafood. My mom's allergic to shrimp, so we avoided a lot of the seafood, but we got lots of fresh fish, which I don't know, maybe cod.
Hmm. Did
Yeah,
Spencer have
cod.
a hard time in general? Did Spencer have a hard time in general finding food to eat?
No, she's not really that picky of a 4-year-old, and she definitely likes rice. So we were able to give her lots of rice if she didn't like the main dish, or she eats lots of bread as well. So basically, pastries she was all about.
So day one was Botanical Gardens, vegan cafe. Is the restaurant
Hmm
worth mentioning?
Day one's restaurant is worth mentioning. Okay, so at this restaurant, we had a grilled corn that was like so good. And then we also got the whole codfish on a plate, which is delicious. But this restaurant was really cool. You could definitely tell like the prices were way higher and the menus were in English and stuff. Like it was a little bit touristy, but that's okay. It had the best view. It was like on the edge of a mountain and had a big outdoor patio you could look out on. Yeah, really fancy cocktails. Like the bar was kind of in the middle of the restaurant, so you could watch them make your cocktails. It was definitely really cool.
We will link the restaurant in the show notes because it sounds really nice. It sounds like it's a beautiful view, good food. Was it expensive?
It was expensive. I would
Okay.
say this was one of the more expensive ones, definitely because it was geared towards tourists.
But for Emily to say that it was maybe worth mentioning, I think says a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was pretty good.
What did you guys do on day two?
On day two, we
Day
took
three.
the yeah, day three, we took the train into Cascais, um, which was a beach day for us. So we went to the beach, which was like sweater weather, but still beautiful, sunny. We got gelato, we got some pastel de nata, and yeah, just kind of relaxed that day.
Cascais. Is Cascais a part of Lisbon? Is it an area of Lisbon?
It's like
Or is,
just outside, so I think we took like a 20-minute train ride.
were the beaches busy at that time of year? Was there anyone even on the beach?
There was like maybe 15 people on the beach. It was not busy at all.
Did they have any facilities there, like bathrooms or like a little bar, restaurant, anything like that?
There wasn't any like directly associated with the beach, like there wasn't lifeguards and stuff like that, but there was restaurants literally everywhere around. So it was easy to find a bathroom and stuff like that. This one was like very quaint and kind of like a nestled between some rocks and stuff. So it was interesting and it was not like, the most busy, popular touristy beach. So I would recommend it. And it was really close to Gelato.
I saw in your little map that you provided you went to Gelato a lot. So why
Yes.
don't you tell me your best gelato experience in all of Lisbon on this trip if you had one gelato place in particular that you enjoyed?
So the best gelato that we had in Lisbon was called Insano Gelato e Pizza. And this was a day that we went to tour São Jorge, Castle São Jorge.
Hmm.
And then we just stumbled upon this place after having a glass of wine in some cute cobblestone restaurant alleyway area. And there was like a nice park for the kids. And then after that amazing gelato, we had dinner at the best bar with the best view of all of Lisbon.
Is this the
It was
Sol
called,
Restaurant des Jardins?
yes,
I
Soul.
can see it
Yeah,
on the map
SOL.
right beside the
Yes,
gelato place.
yes, yes. So Seoul Restaurant de Jardin was so good. And the views were like outrageous.
What made the food so good? Was just cooked well? Did they have like good fresh selection?
The food had really good selection. I had salmon tartare, and they had like fancy crisps and all different things. They had lots of options for my vegan sister as well. They had fancy cocktails, and honestly, it didn't seem that outrageously priced or anything. So it was like a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. That is a
Yes.
ranking. 10 out of 10 is a ranking. So you like that place better than the place you went on your second night, which also had a nice view and good food and
Yes.
cocktails. Okay.
Yes.
Was this
That
your
one
favorite
was a little
restaurant you went to?
overpriced. Yes.
Was this your favorite restaurant? Okay. Okay, so we have best gelato and best restaurant all together near the Castello de São
How
Jorge.
George, I
Castello de
think.
São Jorge. Okay, that's cool. What day did you do that?
I think that was the next day, so like the fourth day maybe.
Great. So it's all gonna blend together. Is the Castello de São Jorge worth seeing? Like, did you guys enjoy going?
It was interesting. So this one was a free castle that you could walk through. And you did not go inside the castle. You were just like inside the castle grounds. And there was vendors and stuff like that. I didn't find them to be too annoying. Like though they weren't like the type to harass you or anything. I got a beautiful painting done by somebody that was painting with coffee. And it was like $10 or something, and just like such a nice little memento, some local art, a little bit different. I loved that it was painted with coffee, and he was painting them right in front of us there, and they were mostly of like the castle and landscapes of Lisbon. So a good little memento, and then it was nice and cheap too.
That's amazing. Anything else you did that day that you want to mention?
Also in the Castle São George, there was like these cod fritters, which I think it was a chain restaurant that had them, but you could get them pretty much at every restaurant. That was the first place we tried them, and they were delicious.
Pastéis de bacalhau.
Yes, I think it's bacao, but yeah,
Honestly, Portuguese is like a language I do not know how to read or pronounce in any way.
it's very difficult.
There's so many foods in Portugal that like I couldn't even name a food other than peri peri chicken. Like literally that's the only Portuguese food I even know.
That's so funny.
It's true.
Pastiche de nata.
Pastiche de nata. We talked about the good gelato. Why don't you tell me where your best pastiche
Hmm.
de nata came from?
Okay, so it's a toss up, but one of the best ones that I saw must have been a franchise, but which is really sad. I hate to say that. Um, but it was very good. It was called Aloma,
Okay.
Aloma,
Hmm.
and it was very good. And then we got a few at the night market that were really good as well.
What makes a good pastiche de nata?
Well, there's two types. So there's one that has like a crumbly kind of crust and one that has like a flaky, delicious, buttery crust, and that's the better kind, obviously. Uh, so I would say that the crust is like golden, flaky, and decently thick, so you actually has some substance to it, and that the filling is a little bit cinnamony, not too eggy, but just enough. The custard is like the perfect smooth texture. And I like when they sprinkle cinnamon on top, and I like when they're served a little bit warm.
Have you ever made them before yourself?
I have.
Mm. Did you do a good job? I'm sure you did.
Um, I think they were good, but they were definitely not the same as in Portugal. And actually, if you ask Portuguese people or the people that I did, they said that the reason they don't turn out the same is because their eggs and their dairy is different, which like
Yeah.
that does make sense to me.
It sounds like you're gonna have to use Hazel's egg for
Uh,
the pastiche de
I
nata, like
know.
the farm to table egg from your
Yes.
backyard.
Yes. Hopefully I can get close to a Portuguese pastéis nata.
So after the day that you went to Castle de São Jorge, what did you
Mhm.
do on day 5?
So we went to Timeout Market and I think we did another beach day. So Timeout Market's really cool. It has basically this one big open room of all of these restaurants that are like small though, kind of like think cafeteria, but fancier. So like a huge cafeteria, all the tables in the middle so you can go and they're bigger tables. So you're like sharing with people you don't know, which is really cool, cozy. There's bakeries, there's gelaterias, there's authentic Portuguese food. There's more like, barbecue style. There's hamburgers, there's sushi. You could find anything you want. It's really cool too because you're going with a crowd and you can't decide where to eat. You can all get your own thing and it's fine
Hmm.
because then you just bring it all to this main kind of picnic table area.
Hmm.
And then directly beside it during the day, well, that is open all day, but only open during the day is like a market with like fresh fruit and fish and fresh things to bring home to cook. So you can kind of do a little bit of both. We did some shopping, did some eating, got some gelato to go.
I don't know if you know this or not, but Timeout Market is like all around the world. Timeout Market is like a brand. So they
Oh,
have locations. I know there's one in Montreal.
okay.
I haven't actually been to it. There's one in Barcelona. I'm looking at the list here now. Porto, Dubai, Osaka. There's one in Japan, New York. So it is actually something that's kind of like all around the world. But I have been to a market like that, and it was one of my favorite culinary, maybe that's a poor word. It was one of my favorite food experiences because it's so easy if you're in a group of people, and usually the vendors they have are actually very good.
Yeah,
So it's like
it
anyone can
was.
get like good food, but what they want, and it's very
Yeah.
communal vibe. So I personally like that dining style, especially when you're with a group of people.
Yeah. And especially for us, it was like, you know, kids needed to be kid friendly. It needed to be vegan friendly. And then like I do not want to spend a lot of money on crappy food. I want good food. So I guess you could call me picky in that sense.
I mean, if you're going to spend money on food, this is my thing.
Yeah,
If I'm going to spend money on food, one, it better be
better be
something that I
good.
can't make better for
Mm-hmm.
cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it better be good.
Yes.
Nothing grinds my gears more than when I pay for food and it's bad.
Yeah. Or like it's like when people buy nachos that are $30 and I'm like, huh?
You can make nachos better at home
Way cheaper.
for way cheaper. Is there anything else you did on this day?
We went to the beach and we went to Belem, where Pasteis de Belem is the first place the Portuguese custard tarts were made. So you can go
Mm.
into the original building and they have like it's not a museum, it's free, but you can kind of see some of their old photos. They have some of their old equipment. And then if you go at the right time, you can see them making the custard tarts as well.
So I asked you before who had the best custard tart, and you said a chain restaurant over this Pasteis de Belem. So what was wrong with their custard tart? Aren't they where they came from?
No, they were delicious, but they weren't warm and you had to sprinkle your own cinnamon on them from like a packet of cinnamon. Like it's become a little bit too commercialized because it's the first one. It was busy. There was like 100 people there.
Oh,
Um,
dang. Did you have to
it
wait in
was really
line?
quick. No, it was really quick. They're efficient, but it was just kind of like rushed in, rushed out. Whereas this other one is like a nice, warm, cozy cafe where the lady is trying to speak to me and she speaks zero English and I speak zero Portuguese. And it was just like so homey and cozy. Versus this
Authentic.
one, like, yeah. So that was the difference for me.
Why don't you talk about the beach you went to so people know where they can beach around if they're in Lisbon?
It was the Alges Beach. Alge accent S. Alges? I don't know.
Alges. I'm so
Alges?
sorry, Portuguese people listening to this podcast.
I know we're butchering it all. Oh, you know what? We did also go to a nice restaurant on this day where we had some like wood-fired pizzas and stuff. It was definitely Americanized, but it was quite tasty. And it was right near the Tour de Belém, the towers. So it was like a nice view and everything too.
I'm going to call this the Food in Lisbon podcast because 95% of what we're talking about is food, which I'm totally down for.
Which
That's
is,
fine with
yeah,
me.
pretty much what we did. So, and then we walked it off because the hills are so drastic.
Yeah, tell me quickly. I remember seeing a very vivid picture of you and Kyle like carrying the stroller up and down the
Yeah.
hills of Lisbon.
All right. So I will say Lisbon is very family friendly in their mentality. Like we didn't wait in, or Portugal as a whole, we didn't wait in line at the airport for anything. We got like fast tracked because we had kids with us, got pulled out of the customs line, and they made a line for us that we were first in line. At restaurants, everything like that, everyone's very accommodating. Um, the only problem is the hills. Like pushing a stroller up a cobblestone hill is so difficult. So we ended up pushing Spencer, our 4-year-old, up in the stroller most of the time because she got tired. We were walking like multiple kilometers a day. She's only 4. And then we would attach McKenna, our 8-month-old, with a baby carrier and carry her that way. So the hills were like 45-degree angles and cobblestone and very narrow sidewalks. So it was definitely interesting. There
Hmm.
was also stairs everywhere. So, like the day we went to the Lisbon Botanical Gardens, we had to walk up like, I don't know, 100 stairs. When we went to South George, there was a lot of stairs too. And we ended up just figuring out that instead of collapsing the stroller and trying to figure out how to carry the baby and how to carry the stroller and open it back up, we just carried her in the stroller with one person on each side. and we ended up getting like very good at it, very efficient. Also the subways, like there is elevators, but they're very inconveniently located. So in order to go all the way around to find the elevator, it was just faster to carry the stroller.
Okay. McKenna, it wasn't worth carrying her in like one of those like toddler baby wraps. So you didn't have to carry the
So,
stroller everywhere?
well, we did do a day without the stroller, but because Spencer sometimes would need to be carried or put in the stroller, it's definitely easier to put her in the stroller. So,
Mm,
yeah, we just kind of were like, in order to carry the diaper bag, have the option if our toddler got tired to put her in the stroller, carry like a little seat that hooked on at restaurants for McKenna, stuff like that. Is like we kind of needed the stroller in order to bring all
okay.
our junk with us.
Fair enough. Day 6, we're over halfway through our trip. What did you guys do in Lisbon?
We Okay, this was an exciting day. One of the best, if you ask me. We went to Sintra, which was
Mm-hmm.
actually about an hour outside of Lisbon, by train. And we went to three castles. I think there's five in this one little area. And that was plenty. That was a whole day's worth. So we just looked at the ones that looked like they would be the most interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
my top choice was Quinta da Regaleira. We're gonna try that.
We're gonna go
It,
with that. We're gonna
yeah,
go with that.
it was so cool. It looked like Hogwarts. It had gardens everywhere. It was very well landscaped. There was tunnels, like cave tunnels. There were like spiral staircases that were stone that went like, I don't know, 10 floors or something. It was crazy. It
What is the
was,
origin of these castles? Like, who owned these castles? Do you know?
no.
Okay, that's fine.
There were like kings and stuff.
Rich, rich people own the castles.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody lives there now, but they're definitely historical, but I did not read any of the signs. I won't lie.
It's fine. Your
I
vacation,
was
your
just there
choice.
for the views. But it was
Hmm.
kind of perfect because I was there for the views and my mom was interested in reading the signs. So it kept everyone entertained.
Was the train easy to take?
Yes, I would say the train was very easy. It was very similar to like the GO train here. Like the stops were all very well labeled. They were all in Portuguese, but like on Google Maps, you could see it in Portuguese as well. So it was easy enough. And just like on the GO train, they had the little map with the train lines like posted in every car. The subway was also quite easy. And I am not a subway girl. Like I'm actually kind of scared of them. So,
But this one didn't scare you?
no, it was very clean. Everything was clean. People are very nice. Again, we had the stroller and everyone, it's not like Toronto. Like no one was pushing and shoving. Everyone moved out of the way and let us get on and off first. And yeah, just very family friendly.
Okay, that's good to know. So, is there anything else cool about the Quinta de Regaleira that you found?
I think the whole thing just really reminded me of like fairies. I would highly recommend. It was really cool. Even the drive up there, you get on like a little city bus that is part of the tour package. It was like really windy roads, but there was lots of great views. And yeah, highly recommend.
When you say the tour package, is that you mean the ticket to entry for the
Yeah.
castles?
So yeah, there was like the group of, I think, five castles, and you bought this like 1 day pass basically that got you into all of them. And then the bus was included in that.
Are they close together?
Yeah, I would say like 10-minute bus ride apart. So the bus basically does a loop and you can like get on and off. as many times. So you could have gone to all five on the one ticket, but we just spent a little more time at each one. And then, when we were like, we've seen enough, we're all getting tired and we want to go have lunch or dinner.
Hmm.
That's when we kind of just stopped. So
I've heard Sintra itself is beautiful. Did you guys spend any other time in Sintra or do anything else
no,
there?
we just did the one day.
So that was day 6. So we're getting closer to the end of your trip. What did you do on day 7 of your trip?
The last few days, we were just taking it easy. We wanted to see a few more things, but also just kind of soak in a little bit more of the culture. So we did a lot more like hole in the wall restaurants that we just go for a little walk and stumble upon. I can try to link some of them, but most of them were like full authentic Portuguese. Like one was literally in a basement where there was like tiny, tiny windows, and it was some of the best food that we had. So I would highly recommend just like kind of wandering around and finding those hole in the wall places.
Hmm.
Um, and then we went to another market and they had a really great happy hour special with the sushi restaurant. And this was
Okay.
called, yeah, this was called LX Factory. I would definitely say if you're like younger or more into drinking, partying. This is where there's like hostels to stay in. It was definitely more of like a party vibe. Well, you could tell it would be at night. We went during the day. There was live music playing in some of the restaurants though. There was shops upstairs and in some other little streets. Like they were like walking streets that you went on though. So yeah, we went to this sushi restaurant called Matcha Mama,
Hmm.
which was really, really good sushi and had like a fancy lychee cocktail. And
I love lychee.
me too. Or I think it was a lychee martini actually, which was just, yeah,
Love lychee
really, really good.
martinis. Is LX Factory a complex then with like different restaurants and bars and it's in this okay.
Yeah. I know. I really thought it was going to be like more of a market where you got fruits and vegetables, like that type of market, but it was actually very similar to the Timeout market, but it was outdoors.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice.
It was like 10 euros for two like really good pieces of sushi and a martini, which is like pretty good for there.
How did you find the prices in Lisbon in general?
Definitely would have had a little bit of a heart attack if I was paying for this whole trip. It was a little on the pricey side. I would say coffee, very cheap. Pasteis de Nata, very cheap. Everything else, well, that's a lie. You could get croissants and baked goods basically for inexpensive, but any meal was decently priced. Like I would say, similar to here, but everything's euros. So really 1.5 times what it was here.
I feel like that's not people's perspective necessarily
No,
of Portugal. I mean, when I think of Portugal, I think of it as a more cheap
like
place to
cheap food.
travel. But if you
Yeah.
say that, then that makes it sound more expensive than most places to travel, to be honest.
Yeah. I think because it's become such a hot spot to travel, the restaurants, like I said, if you don't find the hole in the wall places, it's going to be really expensive.
Hmm.
The hole in the wall places were a bit more reasonably priced. Like you would get a dish and it would be big enough for two people. So it would be the same price, but it's really two portions. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay. What else did you do the last few days? Any other places you want to mention? Food, drinks,
Yes, we
activities?
went to the oldest bookshop in Portugal, and we went to a really cool pottery shop. It was all in Baixa, I don't know, Baixa.
Hmm.
And it was kind of like there's restaurants, there's shops, there's all these things. It was like a downtown kind of like shopping center all outside. the town. It was definitely a nice place to walk around. There was lots of restaurants. Everyone had patios. You could also see like some historical architecture outside too. So yes, there was lots of outdoor restaurants and patios and lots of things to walk around and look at, lots of shops. And there was a beautiful arch called Arco da Rua Augusta. And yeah, it was just a nice like outing.
Looking at your map that you provided here, it looks like there's lots of little areas. Like it looks like Lisbon
Yeah,
has different, almost like different neighborhoods to visit, which I think makes a city, especially on a trip like yours where you're there for multiple days, much more interesting to visit.
definitely.
Did you find that you guys spent too much time in Lisbon? Like, do you feel like you
I do
overstayed your
think
welcome in one place?
I do think we maybe could have done like say 7 days, but at the same time, I was really glad that we had 10 days, especially when we got sick the first day, stuff like that. It was like, if it did rain, we didn't feel pressured to like have to go, go, go. It was also a trip for us to hang out with my sister, who we don't see all that often since she lives
Mhm.
in Europe. So for us, like, it rained, I think the one day, and we just had a really chill, like, hang out at the Airbnb. I think we went to a cafe once or twice, but like nothing crazy. So it was kind of nice to have that option. Whereas I feel on shorter vacations, I feel like I have to do something, even if it's crappy weather, even if I'm tired, it's, go, go, go in order to get the most out of it. This was really nice because it was actually kind of relaxing for once,
Mhm.
even with a toddler and an 8-month old as our
Mhm.
first kind of family vacation. So
Anything else you did the last few days that you want to mention?
I guess one thing I want to mention is like this trip really showed me that you need to find people that you can travel with in the same like wavelength because, you know, we were so thankful that my sister and my mom were willing to like take a break when the kids needed a break or we needed a break and to step in. So there was one day when my mom and my sister watched the kids, and me and Kyle went on a little date day. We went to um, a cafe. We wandered around. We just had some time to ourselves, which is uncommon. So
Mhm.
it was really nice that they were willing to step in when needed. My sister helped carry the stroller down the stairs quite a few times, and my mom would take the baby if needed and stuff like that. So it was really nice to have like travel companions that we all kind of worked together and made it enjoyable for all. So,
If we're wrapping up, do you have any moments on your trip that you wish you could relive? Like really special moments or special memories you have that you kind of want to keep in the bank forever?
Hmm. Honestly, just like sitting on the pier with some baked goods, watching like my sister interact with my kids and my mom and everyone just like having a good family moment in such a beautiful location, eating delicious pastries. That's like something that just locked in and
Mhm.
I will keep forever. Also kind of a funny moment that I will also remember forever is there was a drag queen on roller skates doing like a performance down at the pier one of our first days. And Spencer, my 4-year-old, was just like so enthralled and talking to them and just like
Oh my
they were just trying to perform. But Spencer was just like really interested in their roller skates and
God.
was amazed. So, that also is like burned into my memory. So
It's very Spencer. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone planning the same trip?
I would say have some rain plans. We got very lucky with our weather, and honestly, we didn't have very many rain plans. The one that we did have that we didn't end up needing to do, um, although we maybe could have done anyways, was the Science Center. I think it's called Lisbon Science Center. I've
Mhm.
heard it's fantastic. And then there's also the aquarium right nearby as well. I heard those were both great. Yeah, we didn't have very many rainy days, so we didn't end up doing those, but definitely have some rainy day activities in case you get a rainy week, because walking around on the cobblestone in the rain really would not be that fun, especially if you had kids with you.
What's the next destination on the top of your bucket list?
Ooh, on the top of my bucket list, I would really like to go to Scotland. And I would really like to go to Spain. I went as a teenager, like 13, and I think I could enjoy it a lot more now than I can drink.
Not like you're a big drinker, but I'm sure it
No.
adds to the enjoyment of
Yes.
the
Well, you
experience,
can't
you
go
know.
to wine country without having a glass of wine.
Of course,
So,
when in Rome or when in Spain, I
yes,
guess.
yes.
All right, Emily. Before we wrap up with listener questions, we're going to do a little rapid fire round. I'm going to throw some quick travel questions your way, and you just say the first thing that comes to your mind. No overthinking, just gut reactions. Are you ready?
Okay.
I'm literally just going to ask you questions, and you're just going to like top of mind tell me what first comes to mind. Favorite accommodation you've ever stayed in?
In Thailand, the first night, we had a really fancy hotel for one night only because our travel agent messed up our flights, and it was amazing.
What do you mean your travel agent messed up your flights?
Um, she didn't leave us enough time between flights, so the flight left without us. So we missed half a day in
Oh,
Thailand. And then,
so
yeah,
so you just
when
booked a
we come,
hotel?
no, she booked it for us
Oh, and it was super
as her,
nice?
like, sorry. Yeah,
Oh,
as her,
nice.
yeah, it was actually kind of
Where
cool.
was
So,
it? In Bangkok?
no, in Chiang Mai,
Hmm.
I'll have to find the exact hotel, but it was like down a creepy back alleyway. But then the hotel itself was stunning and
Okay.
$75 a night.
Yes. I mean, on episode one, we talked about Thailand, and probably of all the places we've covered, other than maybe Vietnam, definitely the best travel budget destination, in my opinion. What's your favorite go-to travel snack for you or the kids?
Just like Ritz crackers,
Window seat or aisle seat?
window seat,
What's one thing you always forget to pack?
a hairbrush, which is awful because I have a huge mane.
At least it's not like out of control frizzy.
True.
What's the most beautiful view you've ever seen?
I would actually think in Portugal from the, oh no. Okay. Well, I was going to say in Portugal from that restaurant Seoul, but when we went skydiving in New Zealand, the view over Joseph Glacier was like breathtaking.
That is super cool that you did that. Also, I would never do that, so kudos to you. What's one place you'd go back to in a heartbeat?
New Zealand.
What's the most chaotic moment you have traveling with the kids?
In the airport when I was feeling sick and then we were all jet lagged and yeah, Spencer was jumping around crazy and McKenna was wailing and we couldn't get anyone to calm down.
Kyle, we needed you a little extra that day, so sorry about that. At least your mom was there.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a few listener questions, and then I will let you go. How do you find the balance between sightseeing and downtime for the kids?
We honestly kind of were just like, let's go and hope they nap in the stroller or on the road type of deal. Like whenever we were on a train or something like that, we would definitely try to make it like an attempted nap. Um, and then we figured like if they didn't nap, we would just do an early bedtime. But I really didn't want to be locked away in an Airbnb for nap time. So I think we only did that one day.
Okay. The other question, which you already answered, is Lisbon stroller friendly? How was navigating the hills and cobblestones?
Do you
I
want me to
feel
answer that?
like you already answered that at length.
Well, I actually
Mm,
do think that is. relatively stroller friendly. Like we would have died without the stroller, but you have to be prepared that it's not the same stroller friendly as here. It was a little bit of off-roading.
Hmm. Just be prepared and maybe don't do
Yeah.
it by yourself. You maybe need a partner
Yeah.
to carry the stroller with you at
Yes.
times.
And I know a lot
With
of people travel with like those small, flimsy like umbrella strollers or whatever they're called,
Mhm.
umbrella strollers. Um, that would not do well. Like we brought our heavy duty stroller that had the thing underneath, the net underneath to carry your bag and all that. And I think the bigger wheels, like a heavy duty stroller, is necessary.
Did you use the public transportation in Lisbon? You said yes. Did you find the public transportation in Lisbon manageable with the stroller and kids?
Yes, I would say like the city bus was definitely the easiest. So they have like the wheelchair seats and they also have stroller seats. And then they can lower the bus so they can get on. So that one would have been doable with just one person in the stroller. The subway was definitely like more spacious, and can take you a lot further, a lot quicker. Um, but it was like either trying to find the elevator or carrying the stroller into the subway, 20 steps. So once you're down there, it was friendly for the stroller. And yeah, we just left the baby in the stroller and then made our toddler hold one of my mom or my sister's hands. So it was handy to have like extra person to help.
Do you think you could have done this trip with just you and Kyle and the girls?
I don't think
Money
it would have
aside.
been, yeah, I don't think it would have been as enjoyable just because it would have been a lot more like frantic on things like the subway. But we definitely could have. We would have probably done less though.
Well, thank you so much, Emily, for joining me on Wander Every Day. I think anyone who's going to Lisbon is going to thoroughly enjoy definitely all the restaurant, bakery recos you gave today. I think anyone who's traveling with kids is going to enjoy listening to the podcast. And overall, you're just a fun person to talk to. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the pod and look forward to maybe having you on in the future.
Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Wander Every Day. A huge thank you to Emily for joining us and telling us all about her and her family's adventure to Lisbon, Portugal. From the tile-lined alleyways to managing strollers and lots of hills with two toddlers, beautiful scenic overlooks to fairy castles with hidden caves that kind of look like Harry Potter. If you're planning a trip to Portugal or considering traveling with kids at all, I hope this conversation gave you some inspiration, encouragement, and a few helpful tips along the way, especially in Lisbon. Don't forget to rate and review Wander Every Day on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps the show grow, and let me tell you, we are growing. You can also follow me on Instagram or TikTok at wander_every_day for little reels, behind the scenes footage, maybe some Q&As. Until next time, happy wandering.